Fixing some things on the video feed. I hope that will do it. It will. Sorry for the bad start, but it's going to get better. Good morning. Welcome to Snowman in the Morning on this Veterans Day, on this Monday, coming to you live from Starbucks in Durham, North Carolina. And I think it is appropriate that I start this show with this. That's how we start our Veterans Day. It is November 11th. As I told you, I'm live in Durham, North Carolina. Sorry for the late start. Had to make sure all the settings were in place. And I got a funny story to open up the show this morning. And there I am. How you guys doing this morning? You know what? I got everything ready to go. Last night, I packed everything up. My wife has an interview this morning, so I dropped her off. My daughter's asleep. Um, I got everything ready. I was ready to jet. I was ready to get going. I get here, and I was ready to set everything up. And you want to see something? This happened. I couldn't put it together. It inadvertently dropped, and it went splat. So I got to find some way to fix this. But I want to welcome you all to a road edition. I haven't done a road edition in a while of Snowman in the Morning, coming to you live from Durham, North Carolina. You can hear me every morning, 9 a.m. Eastern, on Arena Sportsnet, Full Press Radio, KSRN Arizona, as well as Western Reserve Digital Radio. If you want to be a part of this here program as an affiliate or as a sponsor or as a contributor, drop an email to snowmaninthemorning@gmail.com. That's snowmaninthemorning@gmail.com. Well, we're just about ready to get going. I'm looking at my slate here, and I'm actually due for a break. But before I go to a break, I want to, and I got a lot on the docket here. Joe Burrow may have just played himself into the Heisman Trophy and just may have played LSU into the national championship game. They are the team to beat in my top four. The New Orleans Saints surprisingly lost and were thumped by Atlanta at home. We'll get to that. Bottom of this hour, I am thrilled to welcome Darrell Owens of the Legacy Maker Sports Network. We'll talk about a player that should be in the Hall of Fame but isn't for some god-awful reason. We'll get into that. At the bottom of hour two, welcome Sharif Ahmed. And toward the top of hour two, I'll welcome Cole Johnson of Cole Sports. He is that man, and we're going to have a lot of fun with our chat. Hour three, I'll welcome Nick Thorson the Gordon Gecko of fantasy football, and my Snowman's take. And yes, there is an hour 3 today. And during hour 3 is where I will present my Snowman's take, and I'll have a case of why Zion Williamson is not ready for the NBA, nor will he ever be. Oh, I'm going to things that are going to get some people upset. I don't care. I love doing it. This is where the fun part of the debate comes. This is the best sports show you've never heard of until now. It's called Snowman in the Morning. Why don't you do me a favor? Follow us on Twitter and tweet the show at SIT Morning. You want to call in at any time, you can do so at 773-672-3208. Advertise with us as well. We want to get your brand out there to the masses. And there are masses, folks. Drop an email to snowmaninthemorning@gmail.com. That's snowmaninthemorning@gmail.com. Now I'm due for a break. And when I come back, I will tell you Joe Burrow just played himself into the Heisman Trophy, and also why A, he shut me up, B, why the LSU Tigers are the team to. I'll give you a hint. Reason why the LSU Tigers are the team to beat. Had to correct something really quick on our feed. But we got everything together. We're going to roll right along. Snowman in the Morning, back in a flash.
Energy drinks want to scare you. Some even want to bully you around. And the others, they're just blowing smoke. With vitamins B3, B5, B6, and B12, the new HiQ Energy Drink comes available in 4 exciting flavors. Skyberry Fusion, Apple, Coconut Fruit Punch, and Lemon Lime. Natural caffeine, no preservatives, no crash, no bull. HiQ Energy Drink. Wings are for birds.
When you are looking for a company to help build your next project, what do you look for? Honesty? How about our general contractor with integrity? If this sounds like you, it's time to call my friends over at Osborne Company Incorporated. No matter what project you have in mind, the Osborne Company will get it right the first time. Just listen to some satisfied customers. Every detail was given its due attention. We have done major projects over the years, and the quality of the work given to us by Osborne was far superior to other companies. Sound like a company you want to deal with? Head over to osbornecompany.com to see what they can do today, or give them a call and talk with a friendly staff at 36-623-2111. The Osborne Company. Integrity, excellence, and value.
This is Snowman in the Morning, where true sports talk lives.
Thanks a lot, Doc.
Next! I'm all off kilter this morning. I read my schedule wrong. Welcome back to Snowman in the Morning, coming to you live from the Bull City, Durham, North Carolina. I got a great family here sitting to my left. They're all having fun, sharing pictures on this Veterans Day. A happy Veterans Day to all the veterans, and something y'all haven't seen on the video feed before. Me in a shirt and tie. Gotta love it. Tweet the show at SIT Morning. You can call in any time. And my buddy Chris Dietz is aiming to call in. I got the Superback Sean Sierra watching on the Facebook live feed. Hey, Superback. Hey, Dietz. Look at the screen. I'll show you the number again. I want you to call in, especially you, Superback. I owe you an appearance on your show. And Dietz, same thing. I want Superback on to talk Bears. I know Dietz wants to call in to talk college football. Let me get to college football right now before I get to my weekend wrap of the NFL. And I'm going to begin with this statement, and it's as follows. Joe Burrow just won the Heisman on Saturday afternoon. With that performance, even with Alabama coming all the way back and getting as close as they can, Joe Burrow in the second half made plays that needed to be made, including not one, not two, but 3 crucial runs in the second half. 3 crucial runs in the second half. And I bet you I'm going to get yelled at by Chris Dietz. He's on the phone right now. Dietz, what up?
Hey, how you doing, Snowman?
I'm doing well, my brother. How are you?
I am doing fantastic. Today was an amazing day of college football.
Was it not, my friend? I will give you that. And you know what? Joe Burrow has proved me wrong. I had a friend tell me to watch him, and I'm like, Joe Burrow, who the hell is that? Well, I found out Saturday afternoon, and I'm glad to admit a snowman was wrong when it came to this.
Okay, I've had a lot of discussion about Joe. What Joe Burrow did on Saturday was basically he said, "I'm the leader in the clubhouse for the Heisman. Get out of
Yeah.
my way."
What did he
And
end up
the
with? What did he end up with? 393? What did
three
he get?
for I think he was something like 20. I
Because
think he
he
only
only
missed like four
missed
or five passes.
he only missed 6 passes on Saturday. My wife and I caught the second. When it was 33-13 at the half, we nearly turned the channel, but my wife looked at me and she said, "I don't like college football, but I want to stick around for the rest of this one." Man, was she ever right? Did Let me ask you this. I usually don't have
Yeah,
you on until Wednesday, but you called in today, and I'm happy that you did. Did he just put
well,
LSU?
the wife is always right.
Of course, of course. She tried convincing me that I didn't listen to her. I listened to her on Saturday. Did Joe Burrow put LSU squarely in the title picture with his performance on Saturday?
Title picture is a different story.
Hmm.
That's where everybody in college, everybody who follows college football, everybody, we all we all jump on this train of,
Yeah,
hey, if you're in the top four now, you're in the playoffs. We still have a month left to go.
yeah, we do.
We still have we still have a month left to decide this out. And it's one of the reasons why I wanted to call your program this morning
I'm
is
glad you did.
because I wanted to get that everybody to settle the record straight. The four that come out on Tuesday is right now. It's
Yes,
not, hey, let's project this
it's
4 months down.
it's
Let's
it's not
let's put a month and a half down the road.
it's not the
No,
week after the Heisman when everything is set. But man, I'll tell you what, you
Ellis,
tried convincing me last week that LSU Bama was the game of the century. I'll tell you what, it had the makings of what did you call it? A heavyweight fight. It was indeed a heavyweight fight.
it was definitely it finally lived up to the bill of game of the century.
Yes.
It had everything, and that's the one thing I want to. A lot of people have gotten at me about is, oh, this makes Joe Burrow the number one pick in the draft. No.
Oh,
Did you see what Tua did in the second half? Did you what Tua did in the second half of that game was he basically said, "I have an NFL arm, and if you pass on me, you're out of your mind."
who would get him? Who would have the first shot at getting Tua?
Well, it's gonna come down. It's gonna be either the Bengals or the Dolphins. That's we found that out this weekend. We found
I
that out
have
this
two.
weekend.
I have two words on top of that, and you know I'm joking when I say this, but poor Tua. Either way, poor, poor,
Exactly.
poor Tua. Either way,
He ends up in either one of those. Yeah, it's
you can
definitely
add a
for
third.
him.
You can add a third team to that. The New York Jets. You can add the Jets to that
Yeah,
equation.
yeah, we don't want to go down NFL draft. We don't want to
No,
go
no, no, no,
down
no, no,
NFL
no.
draft yet.
We're
The
not.
college is
We're
too.
not touching that
And
yet.
I'll tell you what. You talk about college football on Saturday. That the LSU Bama is going to get all the rage. How about what happened in Minneapolis?
Mm, Gophers. Did they
And
clinch?
and
Did
that's
they clinch the West? You
that's where
told me about them.
everybody's getting. That's
You
where everybody's getting crazy about this college football thing. Is oh, what if the Gophers go undefeated? Okay, if the Gophers go undefeated, it still doesn't hurt Alabama. What Alabama did by coming back in that game and making it a 6-point game, they basically enshrined that, hey, if you're going to take 2 SEC teams, we're one of them.
Who's the
And
other?
you can't
As if I didn't know the answer to
anybody who
this.
watched that game, you can't tell me that you don't want to see it again. That you don't want to see LSU play again.
I'd love to see it again.
Bama, I'd sign up for that right now.
I'd love to see it again, and I'd love to see it with all the marks on the line.
Exactly, and people have gotten at me. People have gotten at me to tell me, "Oh, what about Minnesota? Minnesota's undefeated. Baylor's undefeated. They still have tests to come."
Yes,
I get it. I get it. But to this point, and if you're telling me Alabama has to still be involved in that.
I'll agree with that. I'll agree with it. Who are your four? Since we're talking the road to Nolans, and if I'm correct, old college football guru, isn't this the first time the Superdome hosted the national championship?
Yes, this is the first time of this.
Yeah, the first time it's hosted.
Region.
Yeah, it's the first time it's not the first time it's hosted a national championship. I got that wrong. It'd be the first time the CFP has played New Orleans. Am I right? Has played the national championship in New Orleans. Right.
Yeah. But who are my top four? My top four are LSU. First off, anybody who wants to argue against LSU, they're the first team ever in college football history, the 150 years of college football, they're the first team ever to beat 3 top 10 teams in one season.
Yep.
So the resume says enough. So I would have LSU number 1.
Yep.
Number 2, I still have Clemson as the number 2.
Thank you.
What they
Thank
did,
you.
Everything that they've done, I'm putting Clemson there. I'm not saying the committee's going to do. The committee's going to put Ohio State, what they did last week. But as far as I'm concerned, Clemson's still the number 2 team in the country.
So you got LSU, you got
State,
Clemson. Who's at 3?
Ohio State 3. And I'm only going to drop Bama to 4. I can't drop them any lower than that. I'm not going to bring Minnesota all the way from 17
up to
all the
number
way
4
up into the top 4. That's not going to happen.
So why did you leave? So here's my curiosity. I understand your decision because it's the same I made, but I want to hear your reasoning of why you left Ohio State out.
Why I left Ohio State out of the top 2?
Out of the top 4, or did?
Ohio State's in at 3.
Oh, okay, they're in at State. So your top 4 goes LSU, Clemson, Ohio State, and Alabama.
Yes.
Okay, I got that one wrong. You don't move Minnesota all the way from 17 to 4, even though they knocked off the number 4 team in Penn State. That I agree with. But does Minnesota crack at least the top 10, or do they stay below? Do they stay below the top 10?
Oh no, I've got them moving up considerably, and I've still got to crunch the numbers and think about whereabouts. My initial thought is about 7, probably right behind Oregon.
Yeah.
Probably because the rest of the poll would be 5 Georgia, 6 Oregon, 7 Minnesota, 8 undefeated Baylor, and then you're looking at 9 probably Utah and Oklahoma, rounding out the rest of it. But the only reason I don't have Minnesota there is this is the first seen Minnesota play a tough team.
Yes.
Okay. If they run the gauntlet, they have everything in front of them. They have Wisconsin, and a Big Ten championship game with Ohio State.
Yeah.
Do they have plenty to sort out?
Would Minnesota have to win out to clinch the West, or did they clinch it already?
No, they still have to win out to clinch the West.
Okay.
Let me think. No, yeah, they haven't clinched it, but they can clinch it if they beat Wisconsin or Iowa.
So one of the
If they
last
win
two
one,
would give them the
all
West.
they have to do is win. All they have to do is win one because
Okay.
both of them already have 2 conference losses. So if
Kind
they
of like
beat
what
one of those head to head,
kind of like what you
basically
did. Kind of like what NU did last year with their win in Iowa City to clinch the West. So one of the next two gives the West to Minnesota. Chris Dietz of the Fifth Down Sports Show on the hotline with the Snowman this morning, coming to you live from Durham, North Carolina. Dietz, thank you for joining me. We got a little more time, and you explained You explained my next segment, but I'd like for you to explain it again to see if we're on the same page, and we usually are. Bama, a one-loss Bama, worthy of the college football playoff? I know the main reason is Tua with the way he played Saturday, and I'll give you all of that. The way Bama came back and played LSU to 5 points on their home. You got a few other reasons as to why Bama's a one-loss worthy.
oh, why are they 1 loss worthy? It's because their 1 loss is to the number 1 team in the country. It has nothing to do. Everybody, you're gonna hear this, and I haven't even started to turn on the other shows. I haven't even started to turn on any of that. I haven't even started to listen to them.
I'm afraid to.
A lot of garbage.
You know how I feel. I'm afraid to. I'm absolutely afraid to.
But look, a lot of people are going to come and say, "Oh, they lost at home." It's not about when or where you lose. It's about who you lose to.
Yes.
It's about who and how. Now, if LSU had continued to just steamroll Alabama, and that 30-15 halftime score ended up being 40 to 20, we'd be having a different discussion.
True.
But it didn't. It turned into a 6-point game.
It turned from a blowout into a thriller, is what happened. It turned into an absolute thriller.
And again, you have to remember what the committee's job is. The committee's job is not to pick who are the best sports. That's what they're going to tell you their job is. Their job is to put the best television program on the screen.
Yes.
And if you're telling me LSU and Alabama wasn't the television program of the weekend, I don't know what else you were watching.
I'm not going to tell that lie.
Please let me know.
I'm not going to tell that lie.
I want to see that, because there was nothing better than that.
I'm certainly not going to tell that lie. But I agree with your assessment of putting Clemson in. I agree with your assessment of putting
Alabama.
Yeah.
For why does Alabama deserve to be there? They deserve to be there because if you take all the 1-loss teams, and you project them out, all right? There's some hurdle, all right? If Georgia beats LSU, then we're having a different discussion. If Georgia wins the SEC, okay, we're having a different discussion. However, if it plays out where everybody ends up, LSU and Georgia are going to play each other, and if LSU wins that game, LSU's undefeated. And Alabama's all loss is to LSU.
Is to the number 1 team. Yes.
Right. You can't argue with that.
So you might have at the end of this, pending the SEC championship, you may have LSU, Alabama 1 and 2. Then if they win their semifinal games, they're going to New Orleans.
If Minnesota finishes undefeated, what that means is they beat Ohio State in the Big Ten title.
Right.
If Ohio State loses a game,
they're out.
They don't have a safety net. They won't be able to say, "Oh well, our only loss is to a better team." You can't say that because LSU is the best team in the country.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not going to have a better loss than Alabama. It's not going to happen.
Right.
Okay? So And expanding on that point, the only other team you could put in there is maybe Oregon or Utah. Now here's the problem. Oregon's one loss is to Auburn. To Alabama plays in the Iron Bowl.
Auburn.
If we're talking about Alabama being in the Final Four, they have to win out. That means they have a win over a team that beat Oregon.
Yep.
You can't argue that. You can't say, well, they won a college championship. Who cares? They played Auburn and they lost.
Yes.
I watched it. Alabama goes out and beats Auburn. You have to say, well, one team, they played like opponents. One team won, one team lost.
So true. So true. Hey, folks, tweet the show at SIT Morning. That's at SIT Morning. That's how you find me on Twitter. And we're kind of within this point. We got about 4 minutes left before I have to go to a break. If it comes down to Georgia, Baylor, and Oregon, and a spot is available in the college football playoff, who gets in and why?
If it comes down to those teams, well, first off, Oregon's out against those three teams because in order for that to happen, Georgia would already have. Oh, they're playing Auburn this weekend, so for that to happen, Georgia would have a win over Auburn, and Oregon has a loss to Auburn.
Okay,
so they're out. However, the trump card of everything that we have is Baylor. If Baylor goes undefeated, the only way they get in is if they're undefeated. And that means they would have beaten Oklahoma twice. So in that scenario of those three teams, if those are the three teams you're talking about, it's going to be Baylor because they're undefeated.
Woo! Who'd have thought Baylor would be back in the conversation after the off-field hell they went through with Art Briles? But I'm glad to see them doing well. Glad to see them in the picture. That's Chris Deese joining me here to talk all things college football.
By the way, that was a great Baylor TCU was another great.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. That went 3 overtimes, did it not? And it was 9 apiece. If my memory serves me correct, it was 9 apiece at the end of regulation, wasn't it?
Yes. It was 6-0 TCU, and then it got to 9-3, and Baylor came all the way back. So
how come TCU?
I like that Baylor team, but again, they've got so many hurdles left. They still got Oklahoma, Texas, Kansas State. So many hurdles left to go.
Can Texas eventually be a player, or are they out?
This year,
Texas is out. Okay.
Texas is out based on the fact they already have 2 conference lots. They're not going to play in their conference championship game.
Okay. So who are the front runners for the Big 12 title game? Baylor is one. The other, I believe, would be Oklahoma.
It's going to be Baylor and Oklahoma, and you're going to need some of absolute chaos to get anybody else back into it because I believe everybody has 2 losses.
This is why we love college football, because of all the chaos that happens. Oh, boy.
What you really need is Baylor to beat Oklahoma, and then Oklahoma to trip up somewhere, and maybe that's in Stillwater.
If Baylor beats Oklahoma, all hell's going to break loose. Oh, boy.
So if that's the only way somebody else gets in, because if those 2 teams if Baylor continues to go, you're not going to be able to catch. You're just not going to be able to catch them because of the head-to-head. So I would think it's that we're going to see Baylor and Oklahoma twice. Yeah. We'll see Baylor and Oklahoma next week, and then we're going to see them again in the championship.
Is that at OU or is it in Texas?
What, the title game?
Baylor, Oklahoma, the regular season game. Is that at OU?
I think off the top of my head, I believe it's in Norman.
Okay. Well, I'm going to have you on Wednesday to really help break this down. I want to thank you for coming on this morning and talk some college football with me. That's Chris Dietz of the Fifth Down Sports Show. You can catch it on KJC Radio as well as Arena Sports Net, and I want to give him this little surprise. I have everything set up where I can run the show live now and also run it on a replay. So you're going to get the best
Nice.
of both. Yeah. Having
Excellent.
the studio that I have, I'm just working on getting some better equipment. We can run the show live, and we can also, have it on replay. And that's for any program that wants to come on to the show. Fit Down Sports Show has been grandfathered in, but if you're interested in running a show on our network, we got some spots available. If you want to be an affiliate of this show, we got some great rates available. I want to thank you for coming on, my man. I'll have you back Wednesday morning during hour 1 so we can break chaos down again, all right?
Absolutely. We'll do it. We'll do it all again.
All right. Thank you, buddy. Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you.
Chris Dietz, my good buddy, joining me. Hey, advertise with us. Snowman in the morning at gmail.com. That's Snowman in the morning at gmail.com. The email address. Coming up next, Darrell Owens of the Legacy Maker Sports Network joins me to talk some Hall of Fame, some Pro Football Hall of Fame fallacies. And there are 3 of them that I can think of right off the top of my head. Simply put, there are a couple that should be in, and they're not. Snowman in the morning, back in a flash.
This is Mario Andretti. You know me as a race car driver, but I'm also a Meals on Wheels volunteer. I've raced against sports' biggest personalities, but I've never met more vibrant, amazing people than the seniors served by Meals on Wheels. As a volunteer, you deliver a hot, nutritious meal and a friendly hello to someone just like your mother, grandfather, or next-door neighbor. These seniors are inspiring people with incredible stories to share, and they love to see you. The smiles you get back are priceless. Delivering with Meals on Wheels is easy, and you don't have to drive like me for it to be quick. You can volunteer your lunch break once a week or just once a month. With 1 in 6 seniors facing hunger and many more living in isolation, your lunch break can make a real difference. So, America, let's do lunch. Volunteer your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org.
This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
Adopt US Kids presents Multiple Choice Parenting.
Accidentally cut your daughter's bangs unevenly. Do you A, line things up a centimeter from her hairline?
Man, oh man, oh man, oh man, oh man.
No. Sweatbands are so hot right now. Everyone's wearing them. Like that basketball player and that other basketball player.
B, get spiritual.
Mom, where did all the mirrors go?
A reflection could never capture our true selves.
Huh?
Beauty is within.
C, look on the bright side.
Less time blow drying, more time texting.
Or D, show empathy.
Mom, we really don't have
Ta-da! Twinsies!
I kinda love it. As a parent, there are no perfect answers, but you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
For more information, contact You Gotta Believe at yougottabelieve.org. A public service announcement from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
It only takes a minute to find out if you may have prediabetes, and you can do it at doihaveprediabetes.org. But you're probably not going to. Nope. I'm sure you got a perfectly good excuse. Kids, work. I get it. You're busy. So what better time than now? Let's begin. Raise 1 finger if you're a man. Lady. Oh, count in your head if you're driving. Now, 3 more fingers for everyone over 60, 2 over 50, 1 over 40, 1 more if you're not physically active, another finger if anyone in your family has type 2 diabetes, another if you have high blood pressure. If you're overweight, raise another finger, 2 if you're very overweight, and 3 if you're really overweight. You've just taken the world's first audio prediabetes test. And if you're holding up 5 or more fingers, visit doihaveprediabetes.org or talk to your doctor. There's no excuse because prediabetes can be reversed.
Brought to you by the Ad Council and its pre-diabetes awareness partners.
This is Snowman in the Morning, where true sports talk lives.
Excellent.
Hey, folks, don't forget, it's Veterans Day. Honor your veterans all around you. Back here on Snowman in the Morning, live from Durham, North Carolina. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome a fellow I've been wanting to have on for a while. Haven't had the chance to because both of us are busy, both of us are sports guys, and also both of us have family. Let me welcome Darrell Owens of the Legacy Maker Sports Network, and he joins me right now. Good morning, sir. How are you?
What is up, Snowman? How you doing, sir?
I am well. I'm finally in your region, dog. I'm finally here.
I know, right? Striking distance.
Darrell Owens, the man, the legend in charge of the Legacy Maker Sports Network. I'm going to be joining him for some calls with VCU later on this basketball season. I'm sealing up a couple of clients of my own, but there's a reason I wanted him to be on. I made a statement on this program 2 years ago that a lot of people refused to believe. This man believes my statement when I say John Taylor of 49ers fame should have a spot in the Hall of Fame right now, period.
I agree with you 100%, Snowman, because here's my thing, I've looked over the numbers and all that stuff, and yes, sometimes people said that, the numbers sometimes mean more than they should. And,
yep.
Sometimes it's what a player can impact the game, how a player impacts the game. And you can't tell me that John Taylor did not impact the game, in a special way. The things that he did, for that 49ers team, you just can't tell me that, a three-time, Super Bowl champion, you can't tell me that he doesn't deserve to get in. And there's some people
and this is a fellow, John Taylor, came from Delaware State University, and HBCU, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, who still holds a Monday night record of not one, but two 90-yard touchdown catches in the same game at 1989 against the Los Angeles Rams. No one has busted that record, and I don't think anyone ever will.
Yeah, you look at that, a record that stands, the test of time has been 30 years. 30 years is a long time to be able to hold a record, especially with the way the game is now.
Yeah.
Where, people are like breaking loose for stuff. They jump and all of these crazy records get broken. Mm-hmm. And for that record to stand the test of time, almost like him and Willie Anderson.
Yes.
Those two records stand the test of time. And so it's amazing. You got to give credit where credit is due.
Yeah, we had a Flipper Anderson mentioned here on the program, folks. Anyone who's old school like Darrell and I remembers the exploits of Flipper Anderson when he was with the Rams. He still holds a record of 336 receiving yards in a game. But back to John Taylor, three-time Super Bowl champion, started his career as a punt returner for the 49ers. He brought a few of them back for touchdowns, but if there was a catch that can capsulize his game winner in 3.
Yeah, that drive alone was just special. And, looking at what, he did and, he like I said, I feel like he still just doesn't get the recognition. And we've also talked about Roger Craig.
Yo,
these two guys alone should have been in the Hall of Fame.
Yes.
And, if the Pittsburgh Steelers can get every single person on their 70s team into the Hall of Fame, if the Green Bay Packers can get almost every person in their 1960s teams into the Hall of Fame, you cannot sit here and tell me that those players from those 80s 49ers teams that were so special, that were so huge for for that team to win the Super Bowl, you can't tell me they don't deserve to get in.
And remember,
we made the argument with Dallas and Moose Johnson.
Yep.
Possibly getting it. Heck, I would even say you could throw Alvin Harper in there. He was just as important.
Yes,
as
he
Michael
was.
Irvin. So I just think that people look at that and they don't understand. Yes, people say championships. That don't mean nothing. It's more about statistics, but sometimes you got to understand you got to have the pieces to the puzzle to get there, and those pieces were critical. And I just don't see how they can let that fly.
They can applaud Marshall Faulk for having 1,000 yards rushing and 1,000 yards receiving in the same season. And I got nothing against Marshall Faulk. I saw him play at San Diego State. Love the way he played. Love the way he played in the NFL. And yes, he is well deserving of being in the Hall of Fame. But here's my problem. If you want to celebrate Marshall Faulk for having 1,000 yards rushing and 1,000 yards receiving in the same season, you need to applaud the fellow who did it first. That's Roger Craig.
Right. And Roger Craig did it when it wasn't popular, and I think that it's kind of like I want to say that Warren Moon's in the Hall of Fame.
Yes.
I want to throw that in. I know he's in the Hall of Fame, but it's kind of like when the black quarterback didn't get popular until well after Warren Moon was gone.
Yes.
It didn't become a thing. It wasn't a thing. Oh man, it got frowned upon a little bit. And then not to throw any race or anything in there, but it's just an example. Craig did this before anybody else sniffed it. And it wasn't another 10, 15 years before anybody else, got until Marshall Faulk did it. So people don't look at, these pioneers of the game that done stuff like that. And like I said, the things that Craig did alone, throughout his career, I mean, if that doesn't warrant it, I just don't understand what else can.
I don't understand it either. And I'll throw you another name, Niners team that deserves a spot in the Hall of Fame, especially offense. Does the name Tom Rathman mean anything to you?
Oh, I look, man. Tom Rathman was as tough as they come, and I think people, like I said, with a guy like himself, a guy Johnson, the fullback position kind of gets thrown away.
Yes.
Just like the guard position. Those two positions, sometimes there's only two punters in the Hall of Fame, maybe three.
Yeah.
Kickers get a little bit more love, but those guys played too, and that's why I never understood that. I never understood why assistant coaches don't get in the Hall of Fame. If you're a 40-year assistant coach in the league, and everybody wants your knowledge, you can't tell me that it doesn't deserve to get in the Hall of Fame. That's crazy stuff. I just think that I'm not saying that every assistant coach should get in, but if you're an assistant coach and you've got multiple rings and you've done this and you've been a special part of the defense, that type of stuff. But Rathman he was so tough. And for the 9 years that he was in the league, man, it was just like Mike Alstott. But,
yes.
But
yes.
Before his time. So that's the type of stuff. And Alscott's another person I would like to see get in. But that's
same here.
Wishing on our prayer.
Listen, we got some favorite fullbacks of ours. We share some favorite fullbacks that should be in the Hall of Fame. Mike Alstott, Tom Rathman, the Moose, Darryl Johnston, and I'll be damned if I don't get him on the show. I'm going to get him on the show. People can doubt me all they want, but I'm going to get him on the show. I'll give you another one from my hometown Bears, Matt Suhey.
Ooh, that sounds back for you. If I had to throw one in there, I'd probably throw. I don't know because he had a good career, but William Henderson is from where I'm at now, and here in Chesterfield, Virginia. His high school is like 20 minutes away, and he was so critical, for those '90s Packers teams. So
yes, he was.
I know, love him as a player. I don't know if he'll ever get a shot, but I just had to give him some love.
And this is what this segment's about, folks. But we started it talking about John Taylor and Roger Craig, two of the most very important pieces, aside of Montana, aside of Rice, aside of, two of the most important pieces of that 80s 49er team that should be in the Hall of Fame. And again, you got John Taylor's game winner in Super Bowl 23. His only catch of that game won them the Super Bowl. You got the original jackknife running back and Roger Craig, who could catch out of the backfield. I got much love for Walter Payton. He could catch out of the backfield, but if you want to rethink about it and put it in an 80s context, the first player to really make catching out of the backfield popular, help of Bill Walsh and Joe Montana, was Roger Craig.
Yep, and see that's why I said these innovators of things in the NFL that don't get love until later. It always blew my mind. I will say this, and I gotta throw a little homer in there for me. But I was talking to somebody on Twitter yesterday, and the main reason why I've been a Packers fan since I was the wee high is because of Sterling Sharp.
There you go.
Sterling Sharp and the production that he had in his 7-year career compares to there's a lot of people that can't even sniff what he did in that 7-year career.
No.
And I just think that he deserves some true consideration.
He does.
And this is not a shot at Gale Sayers or anything like that. I love Gale Sayers. Gale Sayers played in the league for 5 years, and he's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
And, Terrell Davis, Terrell Davis had 7 years. He's got a ring in there. I think Terrell Davis is in. He
Yep.
had a short career. Don't tell me if you can't produce at a high level for a short amount of time, you can't get in the Hall of Fame.
Well, that brings
Sterling
to
Sharp,
mind.
in my book, has to get in, or at least would be nice to get some consideration.
Absolutely, and I agree with that thought of Sterling Sharp. It holds true for John Taylor, who played 9 years. Roger Craig played only 10 seasons, and I say only because he played in one of the toughest positions on the offense, and that's running back. Tom Rathman played only 9 years. Steve Wallace, their All-Pro guard, played only 9 years, and yet Steve Wallace appeared in 4 Super Bowls. Okay, you can't tell me that he wasn't important. Steve Wallace. Let's go across that front line. Let's go from left to right. Steve Wallace, Jesse Sapolu, Randy Cross at center, and then Guy McIntyre and Harris Barton. That 80s offensive line. You want to put the Cowboys in the 90s offensive line in the Hall of Fame? You better put the 49ers offensive line in the 80s in that Hall of Fame. All 5 of those names that I just mentioned, so essential to the 49ers.
Yeah, I got to agree. I think that the NFL Pro Football Hall of Fame is, this is not a bashing of the Hall of Fame, but
no,
we want them to understand that you have to open up the doors for these other positions. People who went out there and they bled the blood, sweat, and the tears. Like, open your eyes a little bit. And we understand you let 5 to 7, was it 5 to 8 people in a year?
Right.
That includes coaches and then all that stuff. And it's always the high profile positions that get all the love. But think about these guys who bled and, just battled all of this time and don't get the love that they deserve. That's all we're saying. You know what I'm saying? Give those guys an opportunity. And, I think it would be nice to see them at least, even if they said one person a year, just to say, all right, this is our, recipient of the Hall of Fame. Just, to get those guys who deserve that love into the Hall.
Darrell Owens of the Legacy Maker Sports Network joining me for the first time in a while. I think last time I had Darrell on, I wasn't married yet. That was the last time
it might have been this time last year, Snowman.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
It's been a while, but we're going to make this happen as possible. Tell everybody where they can find you, my friend.
All right, everybody. You can find myself and the rest of my team, the Legacy Maker Sports Network, at www.legacymakersports.com. You can also check out our articles on www.legacymakerblogs.com. You can hit us up on our Facebook pages at Legacy Maker Sports Network. Same on YouTube. Instagram is Legacy Maker Sports, and on Twitter at Legacy Maker SPN. Just check us out. We're just a network trying to, help people build up in their careers and get them to the next level. And of course, and be able to live out a dream of ours. When people tell us, and Snowman, I know you can feel what I'm about to say. When people say that you couldn't do it and that, you're living a pipe dream or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
My network, your network proves that you can go out here and do what you can in a field that we love, and no one can tell us that we can't do it.
Absolutely.
So support those entities of people who are grinding, who hasn't been blinded by the big money and the big lights, who truly care about sports from their hearts. Not saying that the big wigs don't, but it starts to become a money thing when you get up there.
It really is.
Yes,
this is what people don't get.
Sports.
It's a money thing when you get to the big networks like ESPN and Fox Sports 1 and CBS. And trust me, I take a lot of notes from those programs. But as Darrell just said, and I will continue to say, we're fashioning our own statement with our own networks. And this is one thing that I was taught by my pops. Rest in peace, he was a veteran. If you can't find the job that you want, create one, okay?
Yes.
Forget joining a network. I'm in the process, as Darrell is, as a few of my homies are, Germ So True as well, Robert Cobb at The Inscriber. We are all homies in this fight. We're in the process of building one, folks. We're in the process of building one. So if you want to lend your support to some people like myself, like Darrell, like Robert Cobb, and everybody else that I've mentioned that are truly putting their hearts into this, that's where you can lend it.
Exactly. I couldn't have said it better, Snowman. I couldn't have said it better.
Oh, man, Darrell Owens joining me. I will have him back on the program very, very soon. A pleasure, my brother. I love you. Keep building that legacy, and I'm going to crash your show one day so we can all, you, Jay, and I are all going to have some fun on your podcast. That show
We're gonna
day.
have to get you on pretty soon, man. I'm gonna get with Jay. We're gonna work something out, man. We're gonna get you on here pretty soon.
Done. Absolutely done. Thank you, my brother. I love you. Can't wait to have you on again.
You have a good one.
Thanks, man.
Peace.
Oh, man. Darrell Owens of the Legacy Makers Sports Network joining the Snowman this morning. We're coming up against it as far as the break goes, but when we come back, I'll have the question of the day, and then I'll get into some NFL notes, including a surprising loss in New Orleans. Yes, that did happen. Snowman in the Morning coming to you live from Durham, North Carolina, back after an extended break. And believe me, it won't be that extended. A little bit of Street Fighter for you as we go into the pause. Snowman in the Morning, back in a flash.
This is Snowman in the Morning, where true sports talk lives.
That's
excellent.
What? Oh, I'm having a ball. I'm having an absolute ball. Welcome back to Snowman in the Morning, Hour 2. I have Cole Johnson on the 18 after the hour, and I got Sharif Ahmed from the Sharif Ahmed Sports Talk joining me also during Hour 2. You can tweet the show at SIT Morning. And yes, for those of you watching on the Facebook feed, I am indeed in a shirt and tie this morning, and I'm absolutely loving it. I got a very special friend that's watching this morning. He is the fabulous voice of the Texas Longhorns, Craig Way. Very dear friend checking me out this morning. Craig, a shout to you. Shout to Professor B. Brian Davis of ASN Bay Area, Kevin Bald, Sharif Ahmed, as I mentioned, who will join me later during hour 2. In fact, he's due to come on at 35 after the hour. About 15 minutes from now, I'll have Cole Johnson on as well. All kinds of good stuff happening. But now it's time for the question of the day. Hey, if you want to sponsor this or any segment of any segment of the show, got great daily, weekly, monthly, and yearly rates available. Drop that email to snowmaninthemorning@gmail.com. Here's the question of the day, and it goes like this. Have you ever been ready, have you ever been getting ready, I beg your pardon, to do a project and then something happens a few minutes before you're supposed to execute it? Tweet the show at SIT Morning with your thoughts. And I know one of my wonderful producers, and Shane Link, will get this question out to the masses. Listen, I was getting ready to do my show this morning from here in Durham, North Carolina, and I said it at the top of the show. I was putting, I'll show you. I was getting ready, and I had this, my microphone stand, but then this happened. My microphone went bust. This happened 180 seconds before I was ready to push the start button to get on the air. I'll get this solved some kind of way. But yeah, you ever been working on a project and something goes blech right before you were ready to go, right before you were ready to execute your project? Yeah, I'll show you again. This happened. My microphone is busted. I got the headset courtesy of PD Doris and the Sports Hub for now. But I'm going to call on you guys to help the process along. If you like the show, and we hope that you do, we're coming at you at 9 a.m. Eastern Time every day. Drop a donation. You see the PayPal link in the description box for those of you watching on YouTube as well as Facebook Live. And I want to thank everybody that has tuned us in as we are in the midst of hour 2. But that's our question of the day. Ever been working on how many times have you been working on a project and then something happens before you were supposed to execute said project? Now, let's get to some NFL notes, shall we? As we roll along here during hour 2. Got Cole Johnson coming on here in about 9 minutes from now. And the New Orleans Saints, who were favored by a bundle, lost at home 26-9 in a division game to the Atlanta Falcons. What? Yeah, that happened. Both losses this year, the Saints 9 points. The first one, of course, came against the Los Angeles Rams, and this one against New Orleans. Now, you have to wonder if this will knock New Orleans off kilter for just a little bit. Sharif said you need that mic for battle raps. I don't rap. I just talk sports with the best of them and defeat the best of them with that. A couple of notes I have for you as we roll along here during hour 2. The Minnesota Vikings beat the Dallas Cowboys at home in a game where I figured Dallas would fall behind early and then try to play catch up. They eventually caught and took the lead from the Vikings at 21-20. That came in the third quarter. The Vikings responded, stuck into the end zone, got the 2-point conversion, 28-21. They held Dallas to a field goal the rest of the way. The Cowboys had a chance to win, but they were picked off in the end zone, and the Vikings get a big win, 28-24. Chris Dietz, my buddy, is watching. But you know something? Should I worry about New Orleans? And I had Trey Larkins, a very dear friend, said something that is very true. Are we going to criticize Drew Brees and the Saints for losing to the Falcons the same way the Packers lost to the Chargers? Well, yeah. Because the Saints were a very big favorite at home. The Falcons were 1-7 coming in to the game, and they put it on them. Let's just call it honestly. They put it on them. Falcons won 26-9, and now the Saints have a lot more questions to answer. Remember, Alvin Kamara back in the lineup after missing 4 games with an injury. Drew Brees was held to un-Drew Brees-like numbers, and that Falcons defense forced New Orleans to make quite a few mistakes. That New Orleans offense, which is as fast break as ever, made several mistakes down the stretch. It was 13-9 in the fourth quarter, and then 3 turnovers led to points, and the Falcons put it away, 26-9. Now New Orleans has a lot of questions to answer. Remember, later here they see the San Francisco 49ers, who have a big game tonight against the Seattle Seahawks, and that's where I'll take it up until the break. Folks have been watching. The 49ers more than likely will be minus George Kittle this evening. Pearl all-everything tight end, which means Bryce Dwelly will be the main tight end in that 49er offense. The 49ers are going to get the test of their lives defensively when facing Russell Wilson and the Seahawks. Russell Wilson is an older version of Kyler Murray. Wilson's been there and done that, but Wilson has not faced this ferocious of a defense yet this season. And as far as the go, they are coming off of a game they barely won against New Orleans. And Richard Sherman was not happy with his team's defensive performance. They allowed 25 points. They allowed over 200 yards of offense. They allowed Kyle Murray to scramble and make plays. Russell Wilson can do the exact same thing. He can scramble and he can make plays. Believe me, as much as I poo-poo on Russell Wilson, I do it in joking fashion because I know how dynamic of a talent Russell Wilson is. This is where I'm picking on my buddy Philip Robinson. He put up a post that says, I'm still waiting for Brian Snow to acknowledge the greatness that is Russell Wilson. Hey, do it in the Super Bowl, then I'll say something, period. But Russell Wilson is going to have a hell of a test tonight, as that 49ers defense is going to get a hell of a test in facing a rejuvenated Russell Wilson and the Seattle Seahawks. And for the first time in a while, and Mike DeBate said it on my program on Friday, it's all about offense with the Seahawks. And not just defense. Not talking about the Legion of Boom anymore. It's all about Russell Wilson and the offense. But I believe the 49ers are going to make a few more plays the 49ers are, to win the game. It's going to be an exciting game. It's going to be a close game. But I have the 49ers winning by 4. And Sharif agrees with the score that I predicted on Friday. I say San Francisco 35, Seattle 31. What's your score of tonight's game? Use the hashtag SITMMNF. SITMMNF. Predict the score of tonight's game. I may have to turn it into a prize to see who is the closest in predicting the score for tonight. I've been all over the board today, but thank you all for being patient with me. Thank you all for just tuning in, and all the folks that have tuned in on the Facebook live feed, including my buddy Keith Thompson, tuning in as well. Well, I got to take a break, but when we come back, I have Cole Johnson on the docket. Cole Johnson is on the docket. He will be next, and we'll have that in 180 seconds. I promise you, we'll have it in 180 seconds. Back in a flash.
Adopt US Kids presents Multiple Choice Parenting.
You've accidentally cut your daughter's bangs unevenly. Do you line things up a centimeter from her hairline?
Man, oh man, oh man, oh man, oh man.
No. Sweatbands are so hot right now. Everyone's wearing them. Like that basketball player and that other basketball player.
B, get spiritual.
Mom, where did all the mirrors go?
A reflection could never capture our true selves.
Huh?
Beauty is within.
C, look on the bright side.
Less time blow drying, more time texting.
Or D, show empathy.
Mom, you really don't have
Ta-da! Twinsy!
I kinda love it. As a parent, there are no perfect answers, but you don't have to perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
For more information, contact You Gotta Believe at yougottabelieve.org. Public service announcement from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
Excuse me, I know you have a 9 o'clock, so I'll keep this short. I'm the business suit in the back of your closet. You wore me nearly every day before your office went, quote, casual. I used to be the CEO of your closet. Now I'm just that one intern no one ever talks to. I always thought you'd circle back with me, get granular, keep me in the pipeline. But nada, nothing. Don't you remember the McKittrick presentation? You spilled coffee on me and I still looked amazing during the breakout talkback Q&A. So, I think it's time for me to move on. I've got a great resume and I absolutely crush it in interviews, okay? Let's make this a clean break. Shift the paradigm. The only is that you think outside the box here and do this. Take me to Goodwill, where I can really make a difference.
Your donations to Goodwill create new jobs, training programs, and education assistance for people in your community. To find your nearest donation center, go to goodwill.org. Donate stuff, create jobs. A message from Goodwill and the Ad Council.
1 in 3 adults has prediabetes. 1 in 3. That means it could be you, your football buddy, your football buddy, or you, your best man, your worst man, you, your dog walker, your cat jogger. While 1 in 3 adults has prediabetes, with early diagnosis, prediabetes can be reversed. Take the risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org. That's doihaveprediabetes.org.
Wait, did they just say 1 in 3 adults has prediabetes? That's 33.33333% of adults. That means it could be my boss, or my boss's boss, or me, my favorite sister, or my other sister. That's 7 members of my 21-person romantic book club. Wait, the 1 in 3 could be me, my karaoke partner Carol, or my karaoke enemy Jeff. I'm gonna take the risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org.
Brought to you by the Ad Council and its Prediabetes Awareness Partners.
This is Snowman in the Morning, where true talk lives.
Excellent.
Hour 2 rolls along here from Durham, North Carolina. I want to thank everyone for tuning in this morning on this Veterans Day edition of Snowman in the Morning. And I want to welcome a young man who I enjoy having on the show. And he joins me right now. This, my friends, is Cole Johnson, that man in charge of Cole Sports. He joins me right now. How are you, sir?
I'm doing pretty well. How about you?
I'm doing good, man. Okay. You have to give you a laugh, as I always do to start our segments, and it goes like this. The Lakers lost last night. LeBron had a triple-double. And yet no one wants to say that the defending world champion Toronto Raptors are good enough to compete in the East. The floor is yours.
Well, you already know what the story is. Forget about the lowly Raptors. I mean, we were done with them after Kawhi left them. I mean, the Raptors are nothing. So what if they're the defending world champs? So what if they beat the Lakers? No, the story is the Lakers lost. Oh no, the world's coming to an end. The focus has been on the Lakers, considering that all of a sudden we feel this energy of Showtime's back and this 8-game winning streak is on, and LeBron James in this 8-game streak scored 3 triple doubles in a row. Mind you, we've already had a player who for 3 years put up a triple double, and we don't even drop a jaw anymore.
Nope.
But LeBron gets 3 triple doubles in 3 consecutive games, and all of a sudden the world has been reinvented. Get out of here.
Oh, not to mention the greatest player of all time had 7 consecutive triple-doubles when pressed into a point guard role. but according to the millennials that try to challenge me, that was the old days. Yeah, the golden age and the best age of NBA basketball. I'm speaking, of course, of
Oh,
1989,
that's
when Michael Jordan was pressed into point guard duty with the injured John Paxson. He put up 7 straight triple doubles. Top that.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot. The game was much easier to play back then. Yeah, yeah. They played no defense compared to now, which they play even less than no defense.
Yep.
But I mean, they played no defense in 1989, and 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 Jordan, he could do whatever he wanted because the players were slower and it was less athletic of a game, and yeah, never mind the fact that you actually had to have this word. It's a 5-letter word. It begins with S. I believe the word is skill to actually
Yes.
play the game back then.
uh,
Miss me with all that.
you know what? I heard an argument from a LeBron stan, and yes, we talk about this a lot on the show, but it bears mentioning, and people need to just realize what kind of era the NBA. I've said it on this program. You've said it on this program. But I had someone say to me that Michael dominated a soft era of the NBA when the Bulls were on top in the 90s. What? You heard what I said.
Please say that to me again. I want to make sure I heard that correctly.
I had several LeBron stands, and yes, I said stands, not fans. Tell me, and I'll borrow from your personality, quote, Michael Jordan dominated a watered down, soft era of the 90s when he was playing. Close quote.
So the era that LeBron James is playing in now, uh, with the fact that you could cough on somebody and get whistled for a foul, is not watered down compared to when Jordan had to go to the hole and 4 people would clobber him. That was a soft era.
Yep.
Versus now.
Yep.
Oh come on! You could say something sideways so curse I don't get tossed out the game, and that's today's game. And you mean to tell me that Jordan played in a soft era? Like, get out of here.
What
The,
did
the,
I?
the fact that people the fact that people try to find whatever way possible to laud LeBron over Jordan, it just Bron sexuals just get to me, man. They just
Miss me with that
they
mess,
man.
okay? I'll borrow from you. Miss me with that mess, will you please? I will
Yes,
take
miss me completely with that.
I will take a Pistons Bulls Eastern Conference final any day of the week than some of the BS I've seen in the past 10 years. Any day of the week.
Easily, because I know there was 2 teams that were competing.
Yep.
I mean, 2 teams from 1 to 15 were competing. I would take that any day of the week for my
Yes.
basketball viewing and watching.
Absolutely. I mean, game 3 of the East Finals in '89 ended up 99-97, and you know who hit the game winner. Okay? Dumars had a chance to win it. Vinnie Johnson. Vinnie Johnson. There's a name for you. Vinnie Johnson.
Oh, man. What a 6-man. What a
Listen,
6-man.
some of the names that have played in that Eastern Conference Final: Scottie Pippen, Michael Jordan on one side, Vinnie Johnson, Joe Dumars, Isaiah Thomas on the other side, Mark Aguirre, James Edwards, Bill Laimbeer, Bill Cartwright. Okay, that's when, and I've said it here before, and you've echoed the sentiments with me, that's when basketball was basketball. True basketball.
And here's the thing. I get that there's supposed to be some fluidity to the game. Yes, there are. There is supposed to be some fluidity to it. But there's a reason we have, or at least had, point guards who were able to distribute and basically be like a quarterback on the floor.
Yep.
And there was a reason why you had big men who either one would be like a Dennis Rodman who would, clear you out the paint, or a center like Akeem or Kareem who if you came in the paint weak,
that thing would be sent to the third row, or
Yep.
if you wanted to send his stuff to the front row, you would get stuff down with the ball. I mean,
Yep.
there was reasons to how the game was played back then. Now it is simply you have to have a jump shot, whether you are a 3-point jump shot, whether you are 6 foot or 7 foot, and the goal is to get on Sports Center. I mean, come on, man. It's not real basketball, and I don't care who. Please send pot shots at me. I will prove to you why today's game is not basketball versus how it was back in the late 80s, even in the early to mid 90s.
When you do that, can I join you? When you do that particular show, can I join you? Can I join you and have some fun with this? Because I pulled up something last night while I was preparing for this show this morning. 85 NBA World Championship Series. Game 5 was the particular game I pulled up, and it was a battle of centers. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar against Robert Parrish in that particular game. Kareem had 36 points. 36 points for Abdul-Jabbar in that game. And I'm just looking going, the Celtics made the Lakers make jump shots in Game 5 of that series, and the Lakers made them. All of them.
All right. Now, you know as well as I, in that series, that very same series, in fact, Game 1, the Celtics just ran the Lakers off the floor, and it was considered the Memorial Day Massacre.
Yep, 148 to 114 was that final.
And the scuttlebutt was, I remember this, the scuttlebutt was, Magic was too old, and not Magic too old, I'm sorry, Kareem was too old, and Magic was not clutch. And then what did they do? The next 4 out of 5 games, they proved, well, Kareem wasn't too old, and Magic, he simply was clutch. And like you said, they devised a strategy for the Lakers to not play to their strengths. And what did they do? Well, they proved that, okay, we can still beat you without doing what we do best.
And the most underrated player,
still make it look good.
And the most underrated player of that series, 3 years after that, won a Finals MVP. I believe his name was James Worthy.
And to me, I think that series was his coming out party. I mean, I think that was the time when we realized, oh, so this guy they drafted in '82, this guy actually is something?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
And remember when they drafted, the Lakers had won the World Championship in '82, drafted James Worthy out of North Carolina. He couldn't compete the next year in the World Championship Series because he was
right.
Then the next 5 years happened with James Worthy.
And even the Lakers fans don't really give him this much credit. I mean, during that time when Big Game James was in his prime, he was the leading scorer of that team.
Yes,
and people don't talk about that. They talk about
he was.
Magic was the leader of the team, no question. And Kareem, of course, was a big presence, in the mid '80s.
Yep.
And of course, he fit into a role in the late '80s where he contributed, but he wasn't the number one. He wasn't a focal point.
Mm-hmm.
But throughout that stretch from '85 to '90, James Worthy was their number one scorer.
Yep.
And yet people never talk about that.
And they won't either. They're too afraid to. How about a LeBron hatred moment with a post that I put on Facebook Christmas Day 4 years ago after the Cavs were beaten by the Golden State Warriors. And I had everybody, and I think you remember this, coming on my post saying that I hate LeBron, which you do. But the statement I made was, quote, James Worthy is a better forward by miles ahead of LeBron James. Quote, prove me wrong. Prove me wrong.
I don't think I really, and not because I'm on your show, I really don't think I can prove you wrong. And I say it this way: you got a guy who's 6'9", who is
between 260 and 270, who would be perfect in certain areas to be a power forward.
Yes.
But definitely is a small forward. But he plays such a small man's game to where you almost forget that he's a small forward.
Yes.
Versus a more versatile James Worthy, who he didn't necessarily have to prove that he was a point guard. He didn't have to. But he had the athleticism to get out on the wing and run. And he had the strength to actually withstand punishment in the post if he had somebody or if he had to back down somebody. So,
and remember, he had to take on Adrian Dantley in 1988. This is what people don't forget. Adrian Dantley was Knox. Okay, I loved watching AD play. James Worthy had to take him on for 7 games. Okay,
one of the strongest mid-range jumpers.
Yes.
That you'll ever see. And one of the strongest guys to have a steady mid-range jumper.
I don't care how many of these LeBron stands want to say LeBron's the greatest player of all time. A, miss me with that. B, have him play James Worthy for 7 games. Have him play Dantley for 7 games. You don't think Adrian Dantley would take him to the woodshed?
Dantley will have LeBron bruised, and Worthy would have LeBron's tongue hanging down his mouth.
Yep.
Because he would run LeBron ragged.
Have Scottie Pippen take on LeBron James.
He would have to have a pen and pad on the court because he would have to take notes. Oh, this is how you play defense. Oh, this is how you play defense as a small forward.
I'll throw a little old school.
He would get a lesson.
I'll throw a little school for you before we go to a break. Have Otis Thorpe take LeBron James to school.
no, that's unfair, man. No.
Yeah, I went all the way there. Have Otis Thorpe, a Rockets version of Otis Thorpe, where he grew as a player and grew to his role. Have Otis Thorpe take him to school. Have Alex English take him to school. You want to go a little further?
Alex English?
Yeah, I'm South Carolina's own. South Carolina's own. You want me to really go there, folks? And I know I'm going to get a lot of pushback when I mention this name, but you want a stretch forward that could take LeBron James to school? You know the name I'm about to mention. His name is Tom Chambers.
You had me at Alex English. But I mean...
Oh, Alex English got you, huh?
Yeah, you had me in Alex English because would LeBron even play offense on his own end?
Nope. Alex English would run him ragged. I went there with Alex English. All right.
Yes, and Tom Chambers had a really good game. For those of you who know to game, just think Dirk Nowitzki before we knew what Dirk Nowitzki was.
Yep,
that's Tom Chambers.
That was Tom Chambers. That was Tom Chambers. Got to let you go. Cole Johnson, that man in charge of Cole Sports, joining me on this Monday. Always a pleasure, my friend. Thank you.
Pleasure was mine, brother. Thank you so much, as always.
All right. I love you. I'll talk to you soon.
Love you too, bro. All right.
I got to go to a break, but I got Sharif Ahmed Sports Talk. And lots of it. Lots of it as we break down the Monday night game coming up between the Seattle Seahawks and the San Francisco 49ers and a few other NFL notes as well. In 180 seconds. Back in a flash.
Adopt US Kids presents Multiple Choice Parenting.
You've accidentally cut your daughter's bangs unevenly. Do you A, line things up a centimeter from her hairline?
Man, oh man, oh man, oh man, oh man.
No. Sweatbands are so hot right now. Everyone's wearing them. Like that basketball player and that other basketball player.
B, get spiritual.
Mom, where did all the mirrors go?
A reflection could never capture our true selves.
Huh?
Beauty is within.
C, look on the bright side.
Less time, more time text.
Or D, show empathy.
Mom, you really don't have
Ta-da! Twinsies.
I kinda love it. As a parent, there are no perfect answers. But you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
For more information, contact You Gotta Believe at yougottabelieve.org. A public service announcement from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
Uh-oh, Brad's buzzed.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he's starting with the woots. And now a speech.
I just want to say that friendship is about heart and brain. Who's with me?
Good thing is, he knows when he's buzzed.
And my brain is saying, when it's time to go home, somebody call me a ride.
Love that guy.
Me too.
Know your buzzed warning signs? Call for a ride when it's time to go home. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
This is Snowman in the Morning, where true sports lives.
Excellent.
We keep rolling from Durham, North Carolina. Oh my goodness. Gotta get something corrected here. Well, we keep rolling from Durham, North Carolina. And Sharif Ahmed, the man in charge of Sharif Ahmed Sports Talk, will join me here in a couple of moments to talk Monday Night Football. I promise he will. Monday Night Football discussion coming up as the Seattle Seahawks get set to take on the San Francisco 49ers. Hey, if you want to advertise with us, drop that email to snowmaninthemorning@gmail.com. That's snowmaninthemorning@gmail.com. And I believe I have Sharif Ahmed on the hotline. Good morning, sir.
Snowman, is that you?
Okay, let's break this down. It's Monday night. It's the matchup everyone has been waiting for, myself included, the Seattle Seahawks and the San Francisco 49ers. And you said you had a nugget for me about Kyle Juszczyk.
I did. Snow, is that you?
I'm right here.
Oh, yeah, well, I'm looking forward to that game. I still think that the 49ers are going to take care of Seattle, not too easily, but I think it's going to be enough to win because Jimmy G has been really on his game. And if they can stay on, I think they'll be 10-0, and this will be their best start in almost 30 years.
Yeah,
so
1990.
Seattle will give it a fight, but I still think the 49ers have enough left in them.
1990 was the last time the 49ers started 9-0, let alone 10-0. They lost the NFC Championship game that year. And I'm looking at what you sent me. You said you had a couple of nuggets for me.
I don't know about that. That was a while ago.
But you told
I get it.
You confirmed that Juszczyk will be active tonight with Kittle being out.
I just said, didn't I? But you know the thing with that's really I think getting attention is has time caught up with Adam Vinatieri. I mean, he's not the same as he was when he was with the Patriots.
No, he was.
Taking game-winning field goals, and now he's missed 5 extra points and 3 field goals.
And a couple of those came down the stretch. He hit one against Denver.
Yeah.
He hit one against Denver to give him that win, but Adam Vinatieri ain't been Adam Vinatieri this season at all.
Is age catching up with him?
I don't know. We still have the second half of the year yet to go. 7 games left. I don't know if he'll call it a career after this season. But let's go to New Orleans. How surprising was that win by Atlanta in the Superdome? Matter of fact,
well,
I'll
what do
change
you know? The Falcons did something right.
Yeah, they did. They did. Now the hotline's burning up. I'll get to your calls in just a second. But how big was – well, Baltimore beat Cincinnati 49-13. And Lamar Jackson, as a rookie, has 2 perfect games.
Well, Jackson seems to be the real deal. I mean, Bengals, you can forget it. I mean, they're a joke. No wonder they wanted to bench Dalton. He hasn't done anything either. So I'm not for that either. Dalton's got to go.
Yeah.
And, of course, yesterday we had the Sewer Bowl in the Garden State.
Giants
That's right.
and Jets.
I call it the sewer bowl.
Right, or the toilet bowl, as Joe Benigno called it last Friday when I happened to catch when I caught part of his show with Evan Roberts.
And Barkley did absolutely nothing in the game yesterday.
Not a thing.
Nothing.
Not a thing. Not a thing. Let's go to Dallas. Give me your thoughts on the Sunday night win by the Vikings.
That one got me. I thought maybe Dallas would have enough to overtake the Vikings, especially at home. The NFC East is going to come down to, I think, the last game of the season, who's going to get either the Eagles or Dallas or the Eagles. So it's really going to be tight to find out who's going to win the division and who's going to get the wild card. It's just that close.
It is that close. I think this is Louis Tenor that's joining me.
It's a mess.
It is a mess. It is a mess. My graphics are all wrong. I apologize for that. Louis, let me let you go. Got a guest coming on, and I will chat with you later, all right?
Thanks for taking the call, Snow.
I blew it. I blew it, folks. I blew it. I had the wrong person on, and my graphics were all wrong. I apologize. That was Louis Tenor out of New Jersey who was connecting with me. And I believe this is Sharif that's connecting with me right now. And Sharif, I apologize for that, my friend.
No worries.
Okay, let's start with your Ravens. Big win yesterday against Cincinnati, but you had kind of expect that.
Well, the thing is that usually when there's AFC North games, it doesn't matter what the records are.
Right.
You know, teams can be 0-9, teams can be 9-0, but for those rivalry games, it always are tricky. And we saw that today, or saw that yesterday with the Falcons and Saints.
Yeah, let me go there with you. Your thoughts on that game, on the Falcons surprising the Saints in New Orleans?
Well, the thing is that the Falcons are healthy.
Yeah.
They're starting to get healthy on the defensive side of the ball. And usually when you play teams that are 1-7, they don't care. They're just going to come after you. And if you were to break things down, you know, like Drew Brees, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, they don't like to be flustered in the pocket.
Right.
So what Atlanta did, they just sent everybody going after Drew, and Drew couldn't do anything. That's what the Ravens did to the Patriots.
Yes.
They pressured Tom Brady. They moved him out of the pocket. They made him to try to do throws that he can't make. And the thing is that teams are starting to figure out the top-tier team. And the thing is that it's going to be very interesting when games are in December and early January.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to see how these teams are going to fold up now.
Yeah, we're gonna see indeed. How big of a loss was this for New Orleans? It being at home.
Well, the thing is that tonight's game with the 49ers and Seahawks is going to make a seismic shift of the NFC. If the 49ers can stay undefeated, then they have a little bit of leverage going into New Orleans, playing the Saints in New Orleans. That game, I think you had said even 2-3 weeks ago, you had said that is going to be what's going to really shape out the NFC. So the 49ers have to win tonight.
There are several games on the 49ers schedule. Green Bay, Baltimore is in an interconference game. That could be a Super Bowl rematch, folks. Green Bay, New Orleans on their schedule could really have a seismic tip of who gets the top seed in the NFC. And right now, it belongs to the 49ers, but they're going to get a hell of a test tonight.
Exactly. The thing I do want to say, though, is that, and I'm not saying this as a Ravens fan, but as a fan of football, that Ravens game is going to be very, very big. And the reason is because the Niners have to travel to the East Coast.
Yes.
The Niners are going to have to play the Niners have to play the number 2 team in the AFC in Baltimore. So the 49ers will be okay. But that Ravens game will be a loss.
It will. We'll see. They may lose before they get to Baltimore and then have a bigger chip on their shoulder. You never know. I'm looking forward to that Ravens game in Baltimore. And the
Me
last two times San Francisco has visited Baltimore, but they've broken a lot of streaks this year. The 49ers have. Biggest key.
Yeah. Hey,
biggest key
Go
tonight.
ahead. Biggest key tonight, man. All I have to say is Kyle Juszczyk is back in the fold. That's going to really help out. We're going to really help out Garoppolo. That defense is going to be flying all over the place, and it's going to put Russell Wilson in a panic.
Yep.
And the Seahawks are going to see another great secondary with the 49ers. And like I said before, the Niners are young. The Niners, they literally fly on the defense. There's no better defensive front, in my opinion, than the 49ers
and the
right now.
And the 49ers, just like the Carolina Panthers, they don't blitz a lot. They get home with their front four, which is the fastest front four in the NFL.
Isn't that crazy, though?
It is crazy. The 49ers have the fastest front four in the NFL.
Yes.
They get home to the quarterback a lot, and they don't have to bring pressure. But I'm willing to bet you, Sharif, that tonight they're going to send the house after Russell Wilson and not allow him to make plays with his legs.
No, sir. And I agree with you on that wholeheartedly. And this is going to be a great game. And like I said, if the 49ers can pull this win out, I think it's going to be a 35-31 49ers. It's going to be a little bit of a contest, because you can't doubt Russell Wilson.
No, you can't.
Garoppolo, and the beauty of the 49ers defense is they're giving Garoppolo a short field.
The last 3 games, the 49ers have started in enemy territory 12 times.
What does that tell you?
That defense gets home. That defense gets home. That defense, I'll say it again, that defense gets home a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Big game tonight in the Bay, the Seahawks and the 49ers. 8:15 is the kickoff Eastern time on ESPN from Santa Clara. And you've checked lineup. They lose Kittle, but Ross Dwelly is a developing tight end on that 49er team. He had a couple of big catches against Arizona, including the one that sealed the game. Including the one that sealed the game. How big is he going to be for the 49ers tonight?
Well, they're going to have to get him the ball early and really test the linebackers of the Seahawks, because they really are not going to game plan for him, in my opinion. But he's still a threat. Now that Kyle Juszczyk is back in the fold, Kyle Juszczyk can also play the H-back, the fullback, in tight end positions. He did that in Baltimore when they won the Super Bowl.
Sure did.
With us. And Kyle Juszczyk is like the utility player in that game, or on the 49er team. He can run the ball, he can catch the ball out of the backfield, be the safety valve for Garoppolo, and he can also take a few snaps at tight end. So, yes, Kittle is a huge loss, but you got those 2 guys coming in, filling in the job for him.
And remember, Joe Staley is also slated to come back tonight at left tackle.
Yes. I was mention that as well. And that's another thing. The 49ers are starting to get the right time.
And to think they had to deal with all of these injuries, and yet here they are sitting at 8-0, chance to go 9-0. And I'm of this belief, Sharif. I'm of the belief that if the 49ers win tonight, the NFC West is theirs.
Yes, I agree. But you still can't take the other division the team in the division still lightly.
No,
because the Cardinals still play hard. The Rams can still be a thorn in the side, and the Seahawks are the Seahawks. You can't take no team for granted.
You really can. And this is the second of 3 consecutive division matchups for the 49ers. They beat the Cardinals last Thursday night, Seattle tonight, and then next Sunday they get Arizona in the Bay. And I said if they take 2 of 3 or they take all 3, they'll seal the division, even with the second match against Seattle, second match against Arizona, second match against the Rams. The game that put the West on notice is when the 49ers went down to Los Angeles and stuffed the Rams.
Yes, that was a statement game. The 49ers at the beginning of the season were one of the teams that were going to make a lot of noise, but I did not expect them to make this much noise, being the only undefeated team in the league. And, I think it was the last game or the game before, the 49ers went back to the 94 throwbacks. I thought that was pretty nice.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And I thought that was pretty nice. I think they should start wearing those uniforms more often. It's a little nostalgic.
Yeah, they need to do what they did in '94 and wear them the rest of the season. See how it goes. That came against the Carolina Panthers, where they brought out the throwbacks. They may bring them out tonight. We don't know. They may bring them out tonight. We'll see what happens. Sharif Ahmed, the man in charge of Sharif Ahmed Sports Talk. I apologize again for getting you on the air late, but it's great to have you on, and great to always have you on, my friend.
Hey, one more thing. You and Mr. Johnson were talking about great NBA players and great NBA scorers. I just wanted to leave this little nugget to you. Could you imagine if this player was not ravaged by injury, he would probably be in the top 5. I would even go as high as top 3 all-time NBA scorer. You know who that is?
Hit me.
I'll tell you his name, Bernard
King.
If that man did not have busted knees and a bad back, I mean, I'm telling you, that man, I remember that man when he was with the Bullets. He was still dropping 26, 27 on 2 bad knees and a bad back.
Oh, man. If he'd have stayed healthy, how many more points would he have put up? And I loved watching Bernard King play. Loved watching him play. Bernard, having some memories of Bernard King. Sharif Ahmed joining me here on the Snowman in the Morning as we wrap up hour 2. Thanks for coming on, my friend. Much appreciated.
Always a pleasure. Take care.
I apologize for that goof. Louis Tenor was on the phone. I identified him as Sharif, and that's a mistake on my part. I apologize for that. But we got it right, got him on. Hey, you want to advertise with us? You can do so at snowmaninthemorning@gmail.com. snowmaninthemorning@gmail.com. I got another hour of this coming up. Charles Wallert, the singer's producer, will join me to kick off hour 3. And then Nick Thorson, the Gordon Gecko of fantasy football, will join me. Hour 3 is coming up next. And, yes, there is a third hour to this. I'm going to take an extended break, and then I will be back with hour 3 of Snowman in the Morning. And we hope that you have enjoyed this 3-hour spectacular, and it's going to remain a 3-hour spectacular. Back in a flash.
This is Snowman in the Morning, where true sports talk lives.
Hour 3 rolls on from Durham, North Carolina. I want to thank everyone for joining us. And I just found out the coolest. I know this morning we started talking about the LSU Tigers and how worthy they are of being in the college football playoff and the national championship game, and I believe they're going to get there. But there's a parent behind me by the name of Corey, who's a big-time LSU fan, and she's doing the coolest thing for her son's 21st birthday. How's this for a 21st birthday present, folks? She's taking her son to the Super Bowl. You heard right. My friend Corey, who's sitting behind me, is taking her son to the Super Bowl for his 21st birthday, and I know he's going to be over the moon for that event. Folks, you got to experience something like you got to experience this. You absolutely have to experience something like that. You also have to experience our Patreon, patreon.com/SIT Morning. Please support with a monthly contribution. Charles Waller, do I have you on the line?
You got me, Brian.
This guy's becoming one of my good friends, and I'm glad to have him on. This is Charles Waller, the singer's producer. And I know you wanted to talk about this. Corey wants me to talk about this. So let's get into it. How fantastic was Joe Burrow's performance Saturday afternoon in Tuscaloosa?
Well, I think it was a great performance. I hadn't really seen Joe play all that much. But I must tell you, Brian, I've been around the NFL since I was a little kid, working with the Giants up close and personal. I saw all the great quarterbacks. And in a losing effort, it did nothing to deter me that Tua is going to be the next great quarterback at the NFL level, provided, of course, health. Tua threw for 4 touchdowns and 419 yards coming from behind. They knew he was going to throw. So I thought Joe Burrow was good. I haven't seen enough of him. I have to see a little more. But I'd have to say my 2 top picks that I've seen coming out would be Tua and Jake Fromm from Georgia. And these guys have played against the best teams in the country all their collegiate career, and they just have some special, like Tua's release and things like that. They just have special things. I think they're going to be ready to jump right in. And, of course, the year after, I guess Trevor Lawrence will come out. This kid has won at every level and succeeded at every level he's been at. So that's my prediction, and I enjoy watching more play. I enjoy watching good quarterback play.
And there was a lot of it Saturday in Tuscaloosa. I am of the thought that Burrow not only paced himself to the Heisman with his play on Saturday. I know Tua's going to have a lot to say about that, and I love watching Tua play. But there's every quarterback in college has that one signature performance. We saw 2 of them on Saturday.
Yes, we did. Yes, we did. We saw the best of the best, and who knows if they ever met again. You know, don't forget Tua was coming off an injury. He was rusty. Played a couple of weeks, I think, ergo that fumble on the opening drive that could have changed the game. But Alabama defense couldn't do much against Joe Burrow. And if they play again, obviously adjustments will have to be made. The Alabama offense, their deep game was good. Their running game was good. So I'd like to see them play again.
I'd love to see them play again. If they do, however, it's either going to be in a national final or the national championship, which is what a lot of people are pining for right now. We still got 4 weeks of football left. And while we're on this subject, I got to praise Burrow for his fourth quarter performance when it seemed like Alabama was going to come all the way back and take the lead. He had 3 big fourth quarter runs that extended drives and eventually paid off in points.
Yeah, he beat them every way he could. He used every resource he had to win the game, and kudos to him for that. And, yes, a lot of things have to happen to get a one-loss team in because there's some unbeaten teams right now. But let's see what happens. But, again, I'd love to see the rematch.
I'd love to see that rematch also. And you also mentioned Jake Fromm of Georgia, who is going to be a top pick as well. Love seeing him play. Georgia got a win, 27-0 over Missouri. They're on the outside looking in right now. What do you think has to happen for Georgia to sneak into the playoff?
Well, I think they keep winning, of course, and a lot of undefeated teams have to lose. They do play a tough schedule, and you talk about Jake Fromm. He's completed like 70% of his passes now. He's very poised. Again, that's a tough team. That could be a tough team. These teams, can beat anybody. I think one of the things I would like to see, what has thrown off college bowl games, is the assistant coaches, head coaches announcing they're leaving before the game. It just throws things out of kilter. I'd like them to pass some kind of rule that they have to stay and keep their intentions quiet, and almost like the NFL tampering, until after the complete season of bowl games. I think it affected Alabama last year with their offensive coordinator leaving. I can go way back to where it cost probably West Virginia national championship when Rich Rodriguez announced he was leaving for Michigan. And they were undefeated, lost to Pittsburgh, went into a bowl game, beat Oklahoma. So I think in all fairness that they should keep the coaching staff and through the end of the season and keep it like that. Make no announcements. Don't do anything till after the bowl season. It's only fair to the kids. These are young kids.
I agree.
They're still kids at school, and they get an attachment to their coaches.
I completely agree. You mentioned the biggest point, an attachment to the coaches, number one, and number two, that kinship, that bond, and plus having that scheme in place and having to replace it when a coordinator announces his intention before the bowl game throws the whole team off.
Well, and even if they announce that they're leaving, I think the whole energy changes like it did last year with Alabama's offensive coordinator. They knew he was leaving. He's calling the game. I think he's not into it as much, or something's going on in the team. It's just not cohesive enough to a game of that magnitude when these teams play in bowl games.
But let me get your opinion. Why do assistant coaches do that? I know they get offers that more often than not they can't refuse, but do they think about at times what it would do to the kids and their psyche?
No, I don't think so. I think they take their opportunities, and the schools that want to hire them want to get them as in place as possible to start the recruiting.
Yeah, and recruiting's big, especially in college football. Charles Waller joining me, talking college football, talking sports. I've asked this question of the fans, and a few people have responded. Let me get your take on this. What would have to happen for the college football playoff, A, to change, and B, to be fair to all the schools that are competing?
I don't know. I really don't. It changed from what it was, just arbitrary picking. Maybe they could expand it, but football is not like the other sports where you can do best 3 out of 5 or 4 out of 7. They might add another round to it, maybe include more teams. That's the only thing I could think of. Maybe they make it 6 or 8 teams and start it a little earlier at the end of the season. I think that might be more fair to make it more inclusive. Other than that, I really couldn't say.
The thing that got me when they first announced this playoff, A, they could have done it a long time ago, and B, they should have started with 8 teams, not just 4. It's a race and a half just to get into the playoff in the first place. But if 1AA and other Division 2 and 3 can get it right with a full playoff system and have a schedule in place, why can't the big boys get it right?
Well, I agree, too, but don't forget there's a lot of rebel games, no matter what, for the schools. But I don't think that would hurt. I think it could help with sponsorships and, other more teams playing and a more competitive edge, so to speak, to anybody who's got a good record.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. From college to the pros with Charles Waller joining me here on Snowman in the Morning, kicking off hour 3. The Jets and the Giants played yesterday. Your thoughts?
Well, it's not like who won the game; it's who didn't lose.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I really felt that if the Jets could mount some kind of offense, they would win. It wasn't the kind of offense I was hoping for, as far as balance.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the Giants just can't stop anybody. I thought Daniel Jones was pretty good considering what he had. Darnold came out good, but both teams need a rehaul. The Giants, don't forget Schumer and Gettleman, they're in their second year, and they're not doing any better. Matter of fact, they're doing worse. And I think they have some talent there. The play calling I've always had an issue with, and you got to look at some personnel, reevaluate. The defense needs something, and even the offense. Evan Ingram is in the game, but he's mostly off the field. Saquon Barkley, maybe he's not the same as his injury, but the play calling certainly help him, and he is one of the best guys out of the backfield, as is Le'Veon Bell.
Right.
And the Jets haven't figured out how to use him properly. So for both teams, I think maybe a coaching change and an organizational upheaval is necessary to do some things. They both need help on the offensive line. I think the Jets need a premier type receiver. I mean, come on, we saw with Amari Cooper how he changed the Dallas offense.
Yep.
I think the Jets need that, and I think the Giants again, there's got to be, in football, coaching is very important at a lot of different levels. Who can explain Cleveland, who was supposed to be explosive this year? You have a great running back in Chubb.
Yep.
You have Landry and Odell Beckham defense, and they're not putting up points, and they're not winning consistently. And Baker Mayfield is a disappointment. I really don't know if he's the guy, but certainly there again, coaching. Fangio at Denver. Denver's a disappointment, even with the injuries at quarterback and something else. They've always had a good defense. So I think a lot of these decisions, they've changed the game plan and let Kirk Cousins be Kirk Cousins, and he's been on fire ever since. Played a great game last night, been playing great. And I think that these systems, so to speak, have to adapt to the personnel, not the other way around.
That's how Minnesota got their win last night in Dallas. That was 28-24, the final score there. Talk about a team that's been a surprise. How about the 49ers?
Again, Kyle Shanahan, good coach, great offensive mind, been around the game all his life. They're a young team, and they have some good components. They drafted well, and we'll see what happens. I think they'll be around for a minute. And, talking about that Minnesota game last night, you see they played with confidence. The defense, Dak Prescott played a great game against them. Defense had trouble stopping his passing and the passing of the Cowboys, but Minnesota played with confidence, especially on the offense. You could feel it.
They really did. And they jumped out to a 14-0 lead. Yes, the Cowboys came back and excited. The field goal that the Vikings got before the half, and then they extended the lead to 20-14 in the third quarter. Dallas got the lead but was unable to keep it. You mentioned something that's very true and very important. Minnesota, for the knock against Kirk Cousins was that he could not win he couldn't win the games when the lights were brightest. The lights were bright on Sunday Night Football, and Kirk Cousins won him that game with some very key plays down the stretch.
Well, I think he's in the right fit now, and they're calling plays or allowing the offense to work around him. He makes all the throws. He's smart. He can move if he has to. I always liked him, and I think he's doing a great job, and I wouldn't be surprised to see them, right in the thick of things at the end of the season.
Big win for the Packers. Also, they beat Carolina. It took them surviving the final play with Christian McCaffrey barely being held out of the end zone, but the Packers win that game 24-16. Kind of a bounce-back game. Aaron Rodgers, who was impacted more, the Packers winning or the Panthers losing?
I would say it probably impacted the Panthers losing because they had they were building their expectations and won about 3 games by barely winning, and we'll see how that works out again at the end of the season. They 3 games could have went the other way easily. Denver, a couple of other games, so we'll see what happens, and I think that's going to be an interesting game when Minnesota plays them again.
It's really going to be interesting, and that, I believe, is the final game of the year for the Packers when they play Minnesota. Division title probably on the line. Hey, folks, arenasportsnet.com/SIT morning is where you can catch us. arenasportsnet.com/SIT morning. Snowman here from Durham, North Carolina, along with Charles Wallard. And, Charles, I want you to tell everybody, just like you did last week on the program, about this that you have out, which is absolutely incredible.
Well, thank you so much, Brian. It's a song I wrote for my youngest daughter, Christy, for her wedding. It's a father-daughter song. It's called "A Special Kind of Love" by Benny Marsala, and it's climbing up the charts now. We're number 17 on the adult contemporary charts after only 3 weeks amongst the top entertainment in the world, and people are resonating with it. And fathers and daughters, I mean, there's no greater kind of love when you have that familial bond with your children and back at you. And it's just doing very well for us. And I'd like to thank our executive producer, Bruce Alley, Tom Mazzetta, who's doing the marketing and promotion, just absolutely the best. And, of course, Benny Marsala, this wonderful singer, wonderful gentleman. And we're hoping that we can share this love with you and have it in your hearts all over the world. And you support us by your downloads and streams or whatever. You can get it at CD Baby, Amazon. It's called "A Special Kind of Love" by Benny Marsala. There's a little video on YouTube that you can check out. And if it means something to you, just spread it around because you will feel wonderful as a result of it. And comments and sentiment that has been expressed back to us has just been wonderful. That makes me feel very good to share that love.
Well, it's wonderful that you shared it with me and you shared it with everybody that's listening. Quite a few people listen to it. Folks, I encourage you to download this song. I'm going to close the program with that song in its entirety. I'm going to close the program. I got one more guest, and then I'm going to have my Snowman's take, and then that's how we'll close the program. "A Special Kind of Love" by Benny Marsala, written by Charles Wallard, will close the program this morning. And speaking of Charles, that's Charles Wallard joining me to talk some sports and to talk a special kind of love to daughters, something that we share both as fathers, you with your daughter and me with mine. Folks who don't know and folks who are familiar with the show know my daughter passed away at the age of 2. I have a daughter through marriage now, and that is, like you said, man, that's a special, special bond. And you can't do anything, you can't replace that kind of bond.
No, and you know what? This way it lives forever. And when you hear the song, you could always play it, and it's an extra sensory connection to that love.
It really is. Charles Waller joining me here on Snowman in the Morning on this Monday, talking sports and talking love from fathers to daughters. Man, I cannot thank you enough for coming on to the program. I want to have you on a lot. I want to have you on a lot more. I really appreciate it.
Well, Brian, it is my pleasure. You have a wonderful show, and you fans of Snowman, please tell your friends, because Brian is a wonderful host. The show is interesting, informative, and exciting, and entertaining. And what more can you ask for to start your mornings off than with Snowman in the morning? So, Brian, we love you.
And I love you guys. Thank you so much, Charles. Appreciate the time.
God bless. Bye-bye.
His song, "A Special Kind of Love," sung by Benny Marsala, will close the program this morning. I've had a great time doing this 3-hour show, and I'm going to take another extended break, and when I come back, I will have Nick Thorson, the Gordon Gekko of fantasy football. Don't forget, you can tweet the show at SIT Morning. That's at SIT Morning on Twitter. You can call the show at any time. But coming up next is the Gordon Gekko of fantasy football. That is Nick Thorson. And every idea that he's given me, we're going to try to crunch it into 12 minutes. And that's after an extended break. So be ready for that. Snowman in the morning, back in a flash.
Some energy drinks want to scare you. Some even want to bully you around. And the others, they're just blowing smoke. Packed with vitamins B3, B5, B6, and B12, the new HiQ energy drink comes available in 4 exciting flavors. Skyberry Fusion, Apple, Coconut Fruit Punch, and Lemon Lime. Natural caffeine, preservatives, no crash, no bull. HiQ energy drink. Wings are for birds.
1 in 3 adults has prediabetes. 1 in 3. That means it could be you, your football buddy, your football buddy, or you, your best man, your worst man, you, your dog walker, your cat jogger. While 1 has prediabetes, with early diagnosis, prediabetes can be reversed. Take the risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org. That's doihaveprediabetes.org.
Wait, did they just say 1 in 3 adults has prediabetes? That's 33.33333% of adults. That means it could be me, my boss, or my boss's boss, or me, my favorite, or my other sister. That's 7 members of my 21-person romantic book club. Wait, the 1 in 3 could be me, my karaoke partner Carol, or my karaoke enemy Jeff. I'm gonna take the risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org.
Brought to you by the Ad Council and its Prediabetes Awareness Partners.
This is Snowman in the Morning, where true sports talk lives.
Next!
Excellent.
What? Had a great time here on this 3-hour extravaganza, and the change is going to be permanent. Beginning today, we are going to produce a 3-hour show, 3-hour daily sports show every day, where we mix sports and life at the same time. Corey's messing with me behind me. I'm kidding as I say that. She's getting her stuff done. We're live at a Starbucks in Durham, North Carolina. You want to support the show? You can do so by going to our Patreon, patreon.com/morning. A monthly contribution will help keep our show on the air and keep us producing great shows every day. Our goal is to bring you a great show 5 days a week. Hey, if Pat McAfee of the Indianapolis Colts can do it, so can I. And doggone it, we're going to. Join the frenzy, patreon.com/SIT morning. I got the Gordon Gecko of Fantasy Football, Nick Thorson, on the line right now. Mr. Thorson, what up?
Hey, what up, Snowman? How are you doing this week, my good friend?
I am doing well. I am doing very well. Good to have you on. Let's jump right into it. Let's go. This part, when I have you on, is my favorite. When you talk about studs and duds. Let's flip it around and go with the duds first. Who is an absolute dud this week?
You read my mind. You read my mind, Snowman. How about we start down in the bayou?
I think I know where you're
Drew
going.
Brees.
Yes, unfortunate as it is, got to call it out.
Yep, 287 yards. It's one of the worst defenses in the league.
Yep, and that's part of the reason why New Orleans lost 26-9 at home in the Superdome. That is one of the most pedestrian Drew Brees performances I've ever seen, and I love Drew Brees, but bad performance Sunday. Bad.
Yeah, there's quite a few bad performances on Sunday. You're watching the games. I think I still have the WTF look on my face. I had it yesterday. I woke up with it this morning. Drew Brees, he put up a little over 11 fantasy points against that defense. There's 3 other quarterbacks who had a bigger day, sub-quarterbacks that had a bigger fantasy. Drew Brees, a Sam Darnold, a Mitch Trubisky, a Jeff Driscoll, Detroit's backup
from
quarterback,
the Lions.
put up more. Yeah,
How is Mitch Trubisky in this conversation? He had more points than Drew Brees? How?
Yes, sir. He didn't crack 100. He didn't crack 200 in the air, but he still threw for 3 touchdowns.
Well, that'll explain that.
Yeah. Yeah. I kind of looked around to see how many quarterbacks. There's quite a few percentage-wise who had put up more fantasy points and had a overall better day than Drew Brees. I've got another dud on my list. How about we move to the next dud there, Snowman?
Let's go.
David Johnson.
You read my mind.
I think they took Rob. I think you put him on the side of that milk carton along with Robbie Anderson. Five attempts, 2 yards, and he had a catch for 8 with a 1 fantasy point on the day.
Just 1? That's it?
That's it.
Wow.
Yeah, Kenyon Drake. I remember you and I were kind of talking about it a little bit last week between the distribution on what it would be between Kenyon Drake and David Johnson.
We did touch that.
Kenyon Drake was he had, I don't know if it was because David Johnson was kind of faltering a little bit and starting off on the wrong foot. So that's why more carries were going towards Kenyon Drake. The talks going into the week where Kenyon Drake was going to handle the groundwork, and they were going to use David Johnson in receiving work. Well, I don't know what happened. So that as well through that was another WTF moment in football. So this week.
All right, one more dud on this list. Who you got for me?
One more dud, Saquon Barkley.
Yeah, I was thinking Saquon Barkley.
13. He had 13 rushing attempts for a yard. 5, and then he totaled that with another. He had another 5 targets, 5 catches for 3 yards. That was Saquon Barkley.
Ouch. Ouch.
Absolutely terrible.
Ouch. That's just bad, especially out of Saquon Barkley. Ugh.
Mm-hmm.
This was a topsy-turvy Sunday in the NFL, man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It really was. Thinking about it, what do you think's going on with Saquon? Is he still not 100%?
No.
I mean, or is it Pat Shermer's terrible play calling?
How about option C, a combination of both? Barkley's not 100%, and Pat Shermer is still calling the plays. That's the problem right there. Pat Shermer is still calling the plays. They need to get a veteran offensive coordinator, and they haven't found one yet. That frightens me.
Yep. They need to bring a veteran offensive coordinator in, and Shermer needs to ease back and let him do what he did, that new OC. Keep his hands out of the candy dish.
Exactly. All right, let's get to some studs. Who's your first stud of this week?
Oh, my God. King Henry himself, Derek Henry.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. 33 fantasy points, 188 yards on the ground, and 2 touchdowns.
You know what a lot of people yelled at me about? I called for Derrick Henry to get 200 yesterday. He nearly got 200 for me.
Wow. You almost hit that nail on the head there, Snowman.
You know, I felt it right before the game kicked off. I visited a couple of people who, during their live picks, and they said Kansas City would walk all over Tennessee. I said, not so fast. Tennessee would score the upset, and Henry would get 2 bills. He didn't get the full 200, but he was in that win yesterday.
Yeah, nobody could stop him. That Kansas City defense, they're giving up the third most fantasy points to the position. Now, you can have no wonder why Pat Mahomes threw for over 486 yards and, 3 or 4 touchdowns.
Yep.
But he's got to throw all day long because the defense they can't stop anybody.
They really can't. Who's your next stud?
My next stud, Christian Kirk, Arizona.
Oh, really?
Yes, sir. On 10 targets, he had 6 catches for 138 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Ah, nice one. Nice one. Too bad they couldn't pull the win out yesterday. That would have been a great bonus.
Well, yeah, or he could have shared some love with his running back. I mean,
absolutely.
Share the love.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, Christian Kirk, he had a tremendous fantasy day. Put up 33 points. I'm sure he's won a few guys, a few leagues. I had Christian Kirk drop a bomb on me in one of my leagues, so we're going into Monday night, and we're neck and neck. I've got Russell Wilson. The other gentleman's got Matt Breida and McLaughlin, the kicker that San Francisco brought in for the injured Robbie Gould.
Yeah. Hate to see Robbie Gould injured. Give me a couple of more studs you got on your list.
I'll give you another stud here. The human cheat code himself, Lamar Jackson.
Lamar Jackson.
I swear that guy is just a human cheat code. The way he was running the ball. I mean, 15 of 17, 223 yards passing with 3 touchdowns. And on top of it, add 65 rushing with another rushing touchdown.
Didn't he throw a perfect game yesterday? I think in terms of
yes, he did.
In terms of QBR, I believe he had a perfect game yesterday.
I want to say he did too. I mean, I want to say he did because, considering the fact that the game was done by halftime.
Game was done by the end of the first quarter. All right, forget halftime.
Yeah.
Game was done by the end of the first quarter. And you kind of had that feeling it would be that kind of matchup. I mean, the Bengals are over the season. The Ravens are coming into their own after their win over New England. And then Lamar Jackson goes to Cincinnati and does that.
Yeah, it was like you were watching Madden, the video game, Madden football. The human toggle switch, Lamar Jackson. After nobody, just poor tackling. This guy he was running between a bunch of cones out there.
Yeah, he was.
Now, if you're A.J. Green, do you even bother coming back? Or if you're Cincinnati, do you bring A.J. Green back at all?
In this mess?
I mean, really?
No, you don't. You don't. You shut him down for the remainder of the season, and what do the Bengals do? Where do they go from here?
I want to say, there's talks that they're tanking for Tua, the Alabama quarterback, tanking for Tua. Dalton, there's chitter chatter about him possibly not being in Cincinnati next year.
Yeah, so I thought that would be the case this year. I really did.
I agree on that one. I thought it as well. Now,